Good night, good night, good night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Leadership Conversations. I appreciate you guys taking the time. Good evening, everyone who is tuning in, who is logged on this marvelous Monday, this motivational Monday. I thank you all for your time and for your listening ear and for your feedback. So it's the beginning of another week where we're kicking it off strong as we get ready to move into a whole new week, a whole new schedule, a whole new race around the race around the sun, I guess you would call it. Um, it's truly a privilege to be with you guys tonight. Like I always share before I start, I appreciate your time. I'm always excited for these moments, these conversations, because I truly believe that we all need to be able to develop the necessary skills to be effective leaders. So I appreciate everything that you guys I appreciate you guys sharing, liking, subscribing. For those of you that are new to this, leadership conversations is all about being able to have the discussion about what leadership is about. It is my passion, is my drive, is my desire to help people to recognize that leadership is not something that's only exclusive to individuals who are in high positions, but leadership is something that we all have the capability of doing. It's not restricted or exclusive just to people with titles and positions, but we all have the capability of being leaders. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm excited because we were starting to grow, and we're expanding. I was looking at some videos from when I first started back in January till now, and it's been such an immense amount of growth. I can say that we actually are also, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and now officially on YouTube. So if you're not able to join me via Facebook in the stream, you can participate and join via YouTube. So I'll be streaming on YouTube. Sorry about that. I'll be streaming on YouTube as well. So if you can't join on Facebook, you want to be able to just turn on your YouTube, go to YouTube and be able to tune in. Now you can do it. You can also go back to YouTube to watch it. Anything that you missed, anything that you think that you need to hear again. So I'm excited because I'm expanding. The challenge is that the YouTube page, you're not able to comment. Still working on getting those kinks out, but you can put your comments in the Facebook. You can do that as well as on Instagram. So thank you so much for tuning in. Keen Vision is growing. You can see my mic. Thanks to a good friend of mine who is always looking out, always helping, always supporting. Thank you also for the support. So with all of that being said, I want to jump right into our conversation this week. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, tag someone that you think that needs to hear this conversation, because I want to talk about something that we know about, but we don't necessarily look in depth into. And one of the things that I endeavor to do is to provide definition, so that we can be able to understand what leadership is about, understand the aspects of leadership, understand why certain things of certain characteristics are needed in leadership, so that we can be able to grow. The more that we know is the more that we're able to grow, the more we're able to improve. And so tag someone, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell on the YouTube page for notifications for when we're going live. So I want to jump in. Let's talk about drive. Let's talk about discipline. These are two terms that are so important and so necessary when it comes to leadership. One of the things that I've come to realize is that as leaders, we have to always be growing. We have to always be learning. We always have to be able to develop mastery in everything that we do. What makes a leader great is their ability to grow and master what they're doing. And so the more that we're able to grow, the more the people that we lead can grow. So it's important that we understand that at every stage of life and every level that we reach, it's always a new opportunity for us to grow. We have to understand that the challenges that we face, the levels that we ascend to, right? Every stage of our life, there's something that we have to learn. There's some area that has to be developed. There's some area that has to grow. And a lot of times we don't like the challenge that comes along with the new level, but it is all about helping us to develop some area in our lives. And so this past weekend, in our young visionary leaders program, I was discussing with them some of the ingredients of great leadership, right? And one of the exercises I had them do is I had them name a leader that inspires them, and had them identify the characteristics that they see as that makes them a good leader. And so what we did is that we took the time to examine different leaders and identify the characteristic, the ingredients of what makes up a great leader. And that stemming from a previous conversation that I had, one of the two things that stuck out to me are the ingredients of having drive and discipline, those characteristics of drive and discipline. Two things that go hand in hand. And one thing that makes a leader great is that they have the ability to develop both drive and discipline and use them to inspire others. See, when you look at great leaders, right? There are certain characteristics. Of course, there is their ability to inspire, or their ability to have charisma, right? We oftentimes are drawn to their talent, drawn to their passion, their purpose, but there are certain aspects that of a leader that that inspires people to follow, imitate, and admire them. And two of those ingredients, two of those characteristics are indeed drive and discipline, right? When you really think about it, no one is ever inspired by a lazy leader. No one ever says, man, this person has no drive and I really want to be like them. What usually captivates us outside of charisma, outside of talent, is a leader's work ethic. And great leaders know how to make things look easy. See, when someone is able to make a task, make a duty, or make something look easy, it's usually because of the fact that they have learned to combine both drive and discipline while developing their craft. Anybody, whether it's a singer, whether it's a dancer, whether it's an actor, whether it's a preacher or a musician, anyone, or a teacher, anyone that can make what they do look easy is a testament to their work ethic, their ability to develop and master their craft. And in order to truly develop a mastery in your craft, you have to have both drive and discipline. Now, I'm singling both of these out because they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. You need both. Both drive and discipline has to be our best friends when we're trying to develop a strong work ethic and develop a mastery of our craft. So when I say they go hand in hand, they're like fire and ice. They're like night and day. They're like peanut butter and jelly. They're like bacon, egg, and cheese, right? Although bacon, egg, and cheese is three for my New Yorkers, bacon, egg, and cheese is one word. You can't have a perfect breakfast sandwich without all three. But when I'm talking about drive and discipline, they have to work in harmony. They have to work together because they feed off of one another and they provide balance. See, one without the other will always limit your ability to be successful. So when you talk about having drive and you talk about having discipline, you have to have both of them working in unison, because the drive, it should be fueling discipline. The discipline should be fueling the drive, and it's almost like yin and yang. They're working together, and ultimately they create momentum. They create that sense of of progress, of moving forward, because they're balancing each other out. Right? You ever ride you when you ride a bike, you have to be able to learn how to shift your weight from each side in order to get speed. Right? You can never just ride a bike with just your left foot and think that you're going to get anywhere. You need both the left foot and the right foot to be able to move in unison and be able to move in unity, so that you can be able to gain speed and get where you're going. So drive, discipline, right? It's important that we understand that you need both, because a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that all you need is drive in order to be successful. They think that all you have to do is to be a driven individual. You got to be passionate. All you need is motivation, and you're going to put yourself in a position to be successful. But drive and motivation without discipline makes you unstable. See, discipline keeps you anchored. Motivation and drive gives you the energy that you need, but discipline gives you that direction. So we're going to talk about this a little bit more. When you see someone who is just driven but doesn't have discipline, they're almost like a road runner. They're going fast. They're going fast. They're charging at full speed, but they're going nowhere. Usually when you see someone who is highly motivated, highly passionate, highly driven, they are going full speed. They put all their effort and all of their energy into whatever they're doing, but they'll start but never finish. I had to explain to someone the other day that motivation isn't what helps you to get the job done. It's not motivation that will keep you progressing, because motivation ultimately is temporary. It's a temporary burst of energy, a burst of excitement, a burst of passion in a moment, and so it's temporary. And when you're someone who's motivated and you're someone who's driven, you're operating purely off of energy, purely off of excitement, purely off of adrenaline, purely off of fire. But again, once that energy and once that excitement starts to dwindle, starts to burn out, right? It puts you in a position where you become stuck. And so I want to talk about these two aspects, because like I said, they go hand in hand and they're necessary for one another. That you need both of them in order to be able to move forward and to be able to grow and to be able to be an effective leader. Like I said, great leaders know how to balance both and use that to inspire others. And so when you think about drive, it's all about energy. It's all about movement. It's all about excitement and this passion to go. So you can throw passion in with drive, because drive fuels passion, or passion fuels drive rather. And so let's talk about a person who is purely driven. Like I said, someone who's purely driven but lacks discipline, they start off great. They start off well. They're excited. They are trying to get everyone involved. They have full of energy. They're full of energy. They have this passion, right? You see those individuals who are they start really strong. They're great starters, and they'll go and they'll go and they'll go and they give all of their energy. But because they have no direction, because they have no discipline, because they have no control, all of that energy gets wasted. And so when motivation is gone, they put that very thing that they started down until they feel motivated again. You know those individuals, those are the individuals who they have great ideas. They'll spit great ideas, and not just great ideas, but they're grand ideas, grandiose ideas, ideas that are like that's going to take you to the moon, right? We're going to take foil paper, we're going to wrap it around some boxes, and we're going to make a spaceship. We're going to take that spaceship and we're going to go to the moon, right? They have these grand ideas, but when it comes to execution, they disappear. Because somewhere along the line, they exert all of their energy. And so now when it comes time to execute, they have no motivation. They have no energy, right? It's that individual that signs up and wants to be in everything. I got to be on this team and that team and that team and this team and that team. And I got to be here. And I'll sign up. I'll join. I'll help. I'll do this. I'll do that. And they have the excitement and the passion to start, but they don't once that passion starts to fade, right? Once they become bored, once they lose that fire, you don't see them again. They just disappear. They fade into the background. And you look for that individual. Hey, where are you? What happened? I thought we were running with this. I thought we were going to do this. But because of the fact that they've used up all of their energy and they've lost that excitement, they become bored. Because they get bored, now you can't find them. It usually an individual that has drive but no discipline fall into the trap of the shiny object syndrome. They get excited about the new thing, and then they once they get bored, they jump onto the next shiny thing. They go after the next new thing, and they display just as much passion in the new thing as they did the previous project. But that project is left unfinished because of the lack of discipline. And so discipline has to be an anchor. It has to give you direction. So you can't just have drive without discipline. But on the flip side, right? On the flip side, you can't only have discipline without drive either. When you only have discipline and you have no drive, you become a robot. When you have discipline and no drive, everything runs on autopilot. You stop growing, you become stagnant, you become comfortable, you become complacent. You have no desire to explore, you have no desire to do anything new, you have no desire to progress further than where you are. With discipline, you develop a routine, right? And when you have just discipline alone, you fall into this trap of everything being monotonous, and it becomes like Groundhog Day. If anyone's seen that movie, where every day is the same day over and over. And so when you have discipline without drive, right, you lose your passion for your purpose. You lose that passion for creativity. You ultimately fall into a place where you don't do more than what's required. Right? When you become disciplined, you develop a mastery in a certain area. Now, because I'm not as driven or as passionate about this thing, I don't want to do more than what is required. I don't want to put any more energy or any more effort into anything that I'm doing right now. As a matter of fact, you start to figure out ways to use as little energy as possible. Right? You when you don't have any drive, you don't have any passion, you're trying to figure out, all right, how do I use less energy rather than how do I use more energy? How do I use less effort rather than using more effort? Let's think of this example, prime example of what I'm talking about. Right? The first day you started your job. You ever started a job and on the first day you're excited, you're driven, like, yes, I'm gonna be able to do this, I'm gonna do that, with this new job, you're so excited that you take out your outfit for work the night before. You make sure you get to work early, right? You have such a hunger to learn and become a sponge, and you're grasping everything they're teaching. You're in orientation, you're grasping everything, right? You're learning everything. You're learning other people's jobs. You're learning your job. You're trying to figure out how you can help on the job, help others on the job as well. You're a sponge. You're passionate, you're driven, you're motivated. I got this, and I'm going to move up in the ranks, and all of these things when you first start that job. But fast forward to now. You set your alarm so that you have just enough time to get up, brush your teeth, get dressed, get to the train station or the bus stop, or get in your car right on time, right before it's too late. You get to work at exactly 9 o'clock. Then he says that you passed probation and now you're wondering what's next. Exactly. You get to work at you now when you've been on the job long enough. You get to the train station just right before the train pulls into the station, right before the bus pulls into the stop. You get to work at exactly 9 o'clock, 9:15. You're going to get your coffee and your breakfast, right? And God forbid you get to work at 8:55. You get to work at 8:55. It's either I'm going to stay outside or I'm going to sit in the car until 9 o'clock hits. Or if I go in at 8:55, I'm going to need that 5 minutes back. I'm going to need those 5 minutes back. So whether it's during my 15-minute break, whether it's during my lunch hour, or whether I leave at 4:55, I'm going to need that 5 minutes back. I remember when I at my old job, after a while, if I got to work at 8:55, I know that it takes me 2 minutes to walk from my car to the office. So I'm going to sit in the car and do nothing for 3 minutes. I'm going to wait until 8:58, and then I'll get out and I'll walk to the office. Sometimes I would get to work at 8:50 because I miscalculated traffic. And I get to work at 8:50, and I'm sitting in the car, staring at the squirrels running around the trees until 8:58, because it takes me 2 minutes to get to the office, get to my desk. See, once you lose that passion, you operate on autopilot and you become robotic. And so now I'm not putting too much effort into what I'm doing because I'm not passionate. I'm not driven to progress. And so you don't want to be in a position where you only have drive and no discipline, and you don't want to be in a place where you only have discipline and no drive. Because one will cause you to expel and expend all of your energy, while the other one will put you in a position where you're no longer growing and you become stagnant. And you never want to be in either positions, because someone who's driven will waste energy. And those are the ones that lead to quick burnout quickly. So when we're talking about the importance of having drive and discipline, and why they have to go together, is because drive will always help you to start, and discipline will always help you to finish. All right, I'm gonna say that one more time. Drive always helps you to start, and discipline always helps you to finish. So you need to have both. You need to be able to start well and finish strong. You don't want to just only start strong and then finish barely finish, and you don't want to barely start and then finish strong. You want to be able to start strong and finish strong, because remember, as leaders, we are the ones who have to be the first. We have to always provide direction, because people are following us. People are behind us, looking to us. And so You don't ever want to create an environment where you slack off at any point of vision building, because people will always follow your example. When you're in a leadership role, people will follow your example. And so people will see how you start and they will mimic, they will imitate how you start. So if you don't have drive to start, then they won't have drive to build. And if you don't have the discipline that's going to help you finish, if you start projects and you don't finish, then you will see that the rest of the people that are following you, that are on your team, will start and not finish. Because to them, their logic is, well, I'm only following your lead. And I see how you do it. And so if that's okay for you, then that should be okay for me. And so that's why they always say, right, that you don't follow someone who says, do as I say, but do as I do. Right? You gotta be a leader that becomes a living example so that people can follow your lead. So drive. Leadership requires drive. I want us to understand that leadership requires drive. Right? As leaders, you have to have the energy needed to cast vision. Everybody knows that it's usually takes more energy to start something new than it is to finish. Whenever you're launching a new product, you're launching a new company, you're launching a new service, it always takes more energy to start. It always takes more energy because you gotta spend more time in putting it out there. You gotta spend more time in creating structure. You gotta spend more time in defining the vision. You gotta spend more time in recruiting the right people. You gotta spend more time to put the systems into place. And so you need the energy to be able to launch. Think about a rocket, right? When you think about a rocket, it needs that fire. It needs that fire to be able to take off against Earth's gravity. So as leaders, we need that drive because and I hate to say it, but the truth is the truth, that we're in a system where everything is designed to keep us grounded. We're not encouraged to be entrepreneurs. We're not encouraged to start new things. We're encouraged to get a job, work a 9 to 5, be an employee, right? And so you have to work extra hard to get out of the gravitational pull of mediocrity. You need energy to be able to launch yourself and make what you're doing, make your dream, make your vision and your goals be able to stand out amongst everything else. So as a leader, you need that energy, you need that drive, you need that passion to be able to start what you're starting. Right? Usually is no blueprint, there's no guidance. It's just you kind of learning as you go. And so you got to be able to have that energy to take the bumps and to keep going. So you need to have that energy. Leaders, you have to feel what you're doing, right? What you're doing has to be fueled by purpose and it has to be fueled by passion, because people have to see your passion before they decide to follow you. They have to see how much you're willing to put in, how much time you're willing to put in, how much effort you're willing to put in before they decide whether or not to follow you. They're not going to sign up for anything that requires them to put more effort than the leader. You got to put more effort than I do because it's your baby, it's your idea, it's your design, it's your plan. And so you got to feel what you're doing. Like I said, no one is inspired by a lazy leader. Nobody aspires to be like a lazy leader. Right? Think about leaders that you admire, right? What is it about them that makes you admire them? Usually it's part of it is their passion about their purpose. They have a purpose, they have that passion, and you can tell that they feel it. You can tell that they feel that passion, right? Mark Twain says that the two most important days in your life are the day that you're born and the day that you find out why. Right? Once you're able to discover your purpose, then it fuels your passion, it fuels your drive, and people have to see that. People have to see that you're passionate about service, about helping, about building. People want to see that you're passionate about the products that you're trying to sell. People need to see that passion, and that passion is something that exudes out of you, right? It's fuel. It portrays in how you talk. It's evident in how you behave. It's evident in how you encourage others. It's evident in how you inspire others. It's evident. People can see you and say, listen, that person is all about this. They don't just talk what they talk to talk, but they actually exude what they're and live what they're talking about. Right? You have to have that drive, and when you have drive, it produces that passion. Right? Miles Monroe said in his book, he said, passion is the source of motivation. Conviction is the source of inspiration. I'll say it again. Passion is the source of motivation, and conviction is the source of inspiration. When you have that drive and you have that passion, it motivates those that are around you, right? When you have that drive and you're driven by your conviction, that inspires people to follow your vision. So drive, it produces that passion. It produces focus. Right? It helps you to focus on your goals, focus on your milestones. It helps you to block out distractions, right? All of your energy is geared towards accomplishing the task that's at hand. Another thing is that it produces stamina, right? Produces the stamina to keep going. It produces resilience. It helps to improve your bounce back game. When you have drive, right? You become more resilient. Any kind of opposition, any kind of resistance that you face, you're able to bounce back because you're driven to the point where you have to accomplish your goals. Right? A driven person is able to get up from failures. They're able to take disappointment on the chin and keep going. I was watching the Hall of Fame speech of the NBA player Chris Bosh, and he was talking about Kobe Bryant, and he was talking about the Kobe Bryant in 2008, how he was a part of the U.S. Olympic team, and he joins them about a few days after losing in the finals, the NBA finals. And in his story, Chris Bosh was saying that he wanted to present himself as a leader, and so he had this idea that he was going to get up at 6 a.m., be the first person in the gym, so that he could set an example for the rest of the U.S. team. And he said that he got to the gym at 6 a.m. just to see Kobe Bryant wrapped in ice packs, because apparently Kobe Bryant had already had a full workout before Chris Bosh got there. And he said that it inspired him because of the fact that even being fresh off of losing the NBA finals, he didn't allow that to stop him from bettering his game and stop him from practicing. And so he said this quote that was so inspiring to me, that stood out to me. He said that legends aren't defined by their successes, but they're defined by how they bounce back from failure. See, when you're someone who is driven and you're passionate and you're focused, right? Failures become a distant memory. You almost develop amnesia because it's just a small stumbling block to get to the next point. And so when you have that drive, you're able to push past the hurt feelings of disappointment, and you're able to keep going. You're able to to have energy to perform at a high level. So drive produces passion, it produces focus, it produces stamina, it produces resilience. It gives you the energy to perform at a high level, and it fuels creativity. So you need drive to be able to successfully lead others. So we know that, right? We often are inspired by people who are driven. What we tend to shy away from is the discipline aspect, though. Right? Talk about drive all day, and people will be in tune. People will agree with you. People will be excited. But talk about discipline, not so much. Right? Because as leaders, we have to recognize that discipline is just as important as drive. But in this time, we don't like to emphasize discipline. Discipline becomes seen as something as difficult, as hard, as something that we try to avoid. We try to avoid discipline because discipline creates restrictions. It sets boundaries, and we don't want that. We want to be able to drive. But truth of the matter is that you need discipline. You can never get you can't get too far without discipline. Drive can only take you but so far. Discipline is necessary when we want to grow as leaders and grow in success. Because discipline anchors us. It keeps us stable. It keeps us structured, right? Discipline is the ability to make yourself do things when you should. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't care about how you feel. It doesn't care about your mood. It doesn't care about your energy level, right? All of those things are fluid. Feelings, mood, energy levels are fluid. They're constantly changing. Today, my passion level is at a 10, and tomorrow my passion level is at a 3. Right? Today I feel driven to get things done, to accomplish tasks, and I'm focused. I have that laser focus to get things done. And tomorrow I don't feel as focused. And so because feelings, because drive, because energy is fluid and constantly changing, you need discipline to to keep you constant. Discipline keeps you constant. So when motivation and inspiration starts to diminish, discipline kicks in. Discipline helps you to develop a system and a routine that is consistent. So even when you don't feel like doing it, because you are disciplined, because you have developed the systems, you've developed the routines that keep you disciplined, you're able to keep going even though you don't feel like it. So if we think of an analogy of a car, right? Motivation is the gas pedal. It's the acceleration, right? But discipline is cruise control. See, when you think about it, we're not always motivated. We're not always feeling inspired, right? And there are moments and there are days when those things will carry us, where it will accelerate us, it'll catapult us towards the direction of our goals and our dreams. But one thing about cruise control is that it doesn't slow you down and it doesn't speed you up. Cruise control maintains direction and maintains speed. So it always keeps you moving forward. So while motivation is the gas pedal that accelerates, discipline is the cruise control. So it keeps you moving even when you don't feel like expending the energy. someone who works out, right? Even when they don't feel the energy or they don't feel like working out, right? Because they've developed a discipline, they'll still go to the gym. They'll still stay on their meal routine. They'll still meal prep. They'll still put the necessary things in place to make sure that their body is still growing and developing, even though they don't feel it today. Right? I always talk about a friend of mine that I went to college with who had this discipline of always going to the gym. This guy went to the gym 7 days a week. And even the days when he didn't feel like it, because of the fact that he had developed the discipline and the routines of doing it, he would still pack his stuff and go to the gym. And we would tease him because he would say, "Oh, I don't feel like going today. I'm just gonna chill." And then you'll see 10 minutes later, he's putting on his gym clothes, because the fact that he's developed the discipline, not doing it feels worse than it feels worse than not having the passion for it. You ever develop a routine of doing something and you feel like something is missing when you don't do it? Right? You say you say that you're going to get up in the morning, you're going to pray, you're going to read, you're going to exercise, you're going to meditate, right? And once you do that for a couple of days and a couple of months, right? When you have a time where you don't do it, you feel like something is missing. You feel like something is lacking. That's because you have developed the discipline. And the discipline is what kicks in when you don't feel that drive, right? So, discipline will always fill the gap when discouragement is present. Discipline will always fill in the gaps when discouragement is present. See, one thing about drive and the motivation is that it takes discouragement to bring you down. You'll be driven and you'll be focused, but the moment that you feel discouraged, it makes you want to stop. Right? And so the thing about discipline is that when you start to feel discouraged, discipline kicks in. Discipline kicks in and says, all right, we got to do this because we're progressing towards something. And so even though you feel discouraged, you'll still do it. Even though you feel like giving up, you'll still do it. Even though you want to throw in the towel, you're tired of dealing with the same foolishness on a day-to-day basis. You get tired of dealing with the people at your job. You get tired of dealing with things that are out of your control. Discipline says, all right, well, we got to keep going. We got to keep moving. We got to keep progressing. We can't stop right now. We can't stop here. And so whenever discouragement comes in place, discipline now stands up and takes the lead. And it'll take the lead until you feel motivated again, until you feel inspired again. And oftentimes we don't think about this, is that the discipline sometimes is needed to fuel the motivation. We need the discipline to fuel the drive, like I said before, right? Once you develop the discipline, right, and you progress to a certain level, you get to the point where you look back at where you were before you started, and that immediately motivates you, right? You try to lose weight, you try to build your business, you try to cut out certain activities like watching TV too often, and you get to a point where you stop and you look at where you were 6 months ago, you look at where you were a year ago, and you see the progress that you've made because of the fact that you were able to develop the discipline. And now that motivates you to keep going because, hey, I got this far and I can't believe I made it this far. I was looking at some of the earlier videos that I did when I first started these leadership conversations, and the progress that I've made since January when I first started this. Just looking back at all of the videos that I was able to do, all of the conversations that I was able to do Monday after Monday, right? Sometimes in the moment you don't recognize the progress, but when you stop and you look back at where you were when you first started, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I made it this far. And so I'm looking at the old videos and I'm laughing at where I was. Funny story. Was searching through some old DVDs that I had, and I found a DVD of myself, right? It was a DVD of 19-year-old me. When I preached my first sermon at college. And I looked at this video. One, I couldn't believe I was so young. I had no facial hair. My face was skinnier. My neck, I had a long neck, right? And I'm looking at myself speaking. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm not gonna lie. I shed a tear because I was like, I can't believe how far I've gotten. That scared 19-year-old kid that was afraid to talk in front of people, the awkwardness. Plastic Man, that's right. I was just long and lanky for no reason, and just awkward. It was such an awkward. I looked so awkward in the video, but when I listened to part of it, I realized that I was still talking about purpose. I was still talking about vision. I was still talking about passion. I was still talking about leadership, even though I didn't know it was leadership. And so what helped me is the fact that I've been able to grow so much over the years, and my message has matured. My progress has helped me to mature. And that's the thing about discipline, right? Discipline helps you to mature even when you don't feel it. Because you don't always feel like you're growing. You don't always feel like you're maturing. You don't always feel like you're developing. But discipline keeps you consistent so that you can be able to look back and recognize, oh man, look how much I've grown, how much I've matured since back then when I first started. So discipline provides a sense of direction, right? Drive is all about having that energy. Discipline provides that direction. Where do I direct this energy? I want to make a difference. I want to make a change. I want to be able to do something different. I want to be great. All right. How do I direct that energy? See, discipline helps you to direct the drive in the right direction, because it helps you to avoid the putting your energy in the places that are distracting, and it helps you to focus and direct that energy in the right place. Discipline produces stability and structure. So you're able to develop, as I said, the systems that are going to keep you going even when you don't feel like it. And it helps you to develop control. It helps you to develop finesse, right? A basketball player spends hours working on their jump shot. Steph Curry spends hours working on his jump shot, right? So he knows how to control when to shoot, when not to shoot. He knows how to finesse the game of basketball. When you have discipline, right, the very things that you practice, you're able to perform, and you're able to learn control. You're able to learn finesse, right? Someone who's a great orator, right? Someone who's great at a great motivational speaker spends hours writing their speeches, spends hours practicing their craft. They spend hours so that they can develop the control, they can develop the finesse to be able to communicate in a way that inspires the audience. So that's what discipline does. It's the behind the scene things that you do that helps you to perform well on the platforms. So you need the discipline for that. Discipline develops mastery. Discipline helps you to build discernment and instinct. See, when you do something long enough, you develop an instinct in that area. You're able to develop discernment in that area. So you're able to look at an individual and know what they're capable of as it pertains to whatever field, right? You can be a musician, right? And you can hear someone play certain notes, and you can be able to discern or whether or not they're good at the craft, right? I watch comedians all the time, and funny enough, is a little secret that helps me is that what's helping me to develop my speaking skills. I watch comedians. You watch a comedian do an hour special, right? They've learned to develop a level of mastery, and they've developed a level of instinct and discernment. So they know how when to use this joke in front of this crowd to get the greatest response. See, when you develop a mastery in your area, in your craft, you're able to develop an instinct on what should I do now? Should I do this now, or should I go in this direction? It becomes so much a part of you that it becomes instinct. And that's the place that we want to get to. Right? When you first started, you're learning, you have that nervous energy, you're afraid. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Should I do it this way? Should I do it that way? Right? But when you do it after a period, you develop that mastery in that area. And then the next level beyond mastery is instinct. Now it becomes a part of you, right? Now you're able to tap into it without even recognizing it, right? You're able to tap into your craft and tap into your ability, tap into your gift, right? Without too much effort, because it's so much a part of you that you're able to use the gift without even putting too much energy into it, right? Someone who has developed, who's grown and mastered in the area of preaching or teaching or prophesying, right? You ever meet, and my wife is like that. Like, she, because of her discipline in her studies and in her prayer and in developing her prophetic gift, she can be able to tap into that gift without it becomes an instinct where she doesn't even realize she's prophesying, but she's prophesying. There's a point where it becomes so much a part of you that you'll be doing it without even realize that you're doing it. One of the things that I recognize for myself is that because I'm a musician, right? Music will be playing in my head without me even really recognizing that music is playing in my head, right? I'll be sitting down and I'm tapping my leg, or I'm banging on a desk, right? And it becomes, because music is so much a part of me that I don't even recognize that I'm doing it. That's the place that we want to get to, as leaders, in that our gifts and our abilities become a part of our instincts. And you can only get to that place by developing proper discipline, because you're able to control it at will and still be able to use it properly and be effective. So discipline produces direction, stability, structure, control, finesse, mastery, discernment, instinct. Discipline helps to keep you from procrastinating. Most of the time, we procrastinate because we feel like we don't know enough, because we were afraid that it's not going to work. Usually that's what motivates procrastination. But when you're able to develop discipline, you develop that confidence that you need to be able to get the job done. And so now you no longer procrastinate. You're able to knock what you need to get done. You're able to knock it out with ease or in the proper timing. So you do that, and ultimately you get rid of procrastination. So that's a nugget for anyone who struggles with procrastinating. Start to develop the discipline and the habits needed to be able to get the job done so that you don't have to procrastinate. Another thing about discipline is that it builds endurance. So while drive builds stamina, discipline builds endurance. So now you're able to sustain that energy for longer periods of time. Right? Because you're able to control and direct your energy in the proper places, right? You're able to endure longer. And a lot of times success is a battle of endurance. Can I really keep going even though it seems like it's not working? Do I keep working at it until I get better, until I improve? What do I need to do to be able to not give up? And it usually is a test of endurance. Can you keep going? Right? Can you do 100 videos with only 3 likes and not give up? That's a real thing, because you can put out videos, you can put out content, and people will not click the like button, people will not comment. You put all your effort and your energy into making a Instagram reel just for it to have one view, and that view is you, right? But when you keep working at it and you learn to endure, eventually you start to attract the right audience. And most people give up because they don't have the endurance. So drive gives you the stamina, discipline gives you the endurance. All right? And so it's important that we develop both of those. And I want to answer this question that Danny posted. He says, what can we add to fuel to be more disciplined? Add fuel to be more disciplined. Is it more a self-discipline fight? Now, with discipline, in order to develop more discipline, you have to put more energy and more effort into what you're doing. And it's about learning to build the right habits. Build the right habits, right? One thing that I always say is that for me, when I started putting my energy into learning about leadership, I studied the habits of leaders. I studied the habits of successful people so that I can figure out what habits do I need to take on in order to reach to their level. And so in order to gain more discipline, you got to first learn what habits you need to put into place. What systems do you need to put into place? Do you need to purchase do you need to buy more books? Do you need to visit us, follow the people that inspire you? Do you need a coach? What do you need to be able to develop the habits to gain the discipline? So first you have to figure out what the habits are. And then you got to break old habits. See, the thing is that a lot of times we're not able to develop the discipline in certain areas because we're not willing to let go of certain old habits. When you're able to let go of certain old habits, you know that you have a bad habit of watching a binge watching on Netflix. And so you'll sit 4 or 5 hours watching a particular show. It's about how do I break that habit and now spend more time in reading, spend more time in writing, spend more time listening to audiobooks, right? How do I break certain old habits and start to take on new habits? And the first thing that you have to do with that is that you can't go cold turkey and breaking the old habits. And so it's about slowly incorporating the new habits while slowly phasing out the old habits. And that's how you start to develop the discipline. I share this all the time is that I challenge myself to read more books. And so I started with reading 15 minutes a day, then 20 minutes a day, then 30 minutes a day, then an hour a day, right? I started doing that in order to be able to develop the discipline. So those are the things that you have to do. And I want us to understand this because there are some times when we have drive, right? But we don't necessarily have the platform or the opportunity to express it. It's important to understand that before you get on a platform, it's always best to use your time to develop discipline, right? A lot of us we're driven, we have passion about a certain area, but because we don't have the platform, because we don't have the audience to be able to or the opportunity to express that passion, it almost burns out within us. My encouragement to you today is that before you get on a platform, before you build an audience, before you gain an opportunity, take that energy, that drive, that fuel, and put it into your discipline. Put it into your learning, put it into your growing, put it into developing the right habits. Because when you put that energy into developing the discipline, now when you get onto the platform, now when you get the opportunities, then now when you get the audience that's in front of the right audience, you're able to display your drive and your passion in a refined way. See, raw drive, raw passion will cause you to make mistakes. It will cause you to express it incorrectly. It will cause you sometimes to create more problems than helping. It'll harm sometimes more than it helps. So when you take that drive and that energy and you focus it into developing the discipline, now it becomes more mature, it becomes refined. And then when you gain that opportunity, that discipline has crafted and refined that drive, and now you become that inspirational person. You become that person that people want to follow. You become that individual that people want to admire, that people want to follow, that people want to see, to help. And so it's important that we take the time to develop both the drive and the discipline that we need in order to be successful leaders. Because as they go hand in hand, they're constantly helping you to grow mature. You see those individuals who will take a stage and it seems like they just came. You'll see those individuals that seem like they became famous overnight. Right? It's like, oh my gosh, you haven't heard of them, and then all of a sudden you see them everywhere. Right? It's because of the fact that behind the scenes, that individual was developing their craft. They were developing the discipline. And then now when they hit the platform that and they gain the opportunities, you see them just take off and they catapult, and they grab people's attention. People follow them, people support them, people want to be a part of what they're doing. It's not because all of a sudden they weren't good and then now they're good. It's that behind the scenes, they were developing the discipline. They were maturing in their drive. They were maturing in the discipline. And then once they got the opportunity, they were able to catapult and be successful in the right way. They became famous in the right way. And that's how we have to be as leaders. You may not necessarily have a platform yet. You may not necessarily be in the ideal job that you're looking for. You may have maybe in the infant stage of whatever it is that you're trying to build. That's the perfect time to use your drive and use your passion and develop the discipline. Children, right? In their infant stage, they're taking the time to learn how to stand and how to walk. And eventually, when they're able to run, then they're running all over the place. Right? And so it's about being able to develop both the drive and the discipline so that we can be effective and impactful leaders. And so I want to leave that with you all tonight. I hope this was helpful. This was something that came to my attention, and it really kind of sparked this idea and this thought, because originally I was going to talk about discipline, but in my prep and in my thinking about it, I came to the realization that you can't have discipline without drive, and you can't have drive without discipline. All of the great leaders have both, and they're able to develop that mastery and that balance. And so when they get before the right audience, people are in awe of them. They're inspired by them. They admire them. They want to be like them. It's all because of their ability to develop both the drive and the discipline. And so I hope you were able to get something from it. I hope you were able to glean something from it. Ultimately, these are the things that we have to build upon so that we can be great leaders, so that we can be impactful in all that we're doing. And so thank you so much for tuning into our conversation tonight. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate your shares. This week, take the time to think about what areas are you lacking in? Are you lacking in drive? Are you lacking in discipline? If you are, how can you build on those things? How can you develop the right habits? How can you learn how to master? How can you build the stamina and the endurance to be able to be great at what you do? Because ultimately, you got to put in the time. You got to put in the time to grow. You got to put in the time to develop and to become a master at what you're good at. It's all about time. The one thing that I always say is that difficulty is not a measure of intellect. It's a measure of time. The things that are easy because you can do them quickly. They're measured by time. It's not measured by how smart you are. Difficulty is all about how much time does it take for you to accomplish or learn a new skill or learn a new task. And so there's nothing in this world that we can't learn. There's nothing too difficult that we can't grow in. It's all about putting in the time. And when you put in the time, the things that seem difficult, that seem challenging to understand, seem challenging to overcome, eventually they become easy. And because they become easy, they require less effort and less time. And so this week, I want us to start focusing on how can we develop the drive, how can we develop the discipline, and how can we make them work in unison and in harmony so that we can be effective leaders. So thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you joining me this Monday. I hope that you all have a great week. I hope that you have a great day tomorrow. I'm excited about your growth and your development. And I know that everyone that's on here, everyone that watches these videos, that listens, ultimately it's my desire to help you to become great at who you are. And so with that being said, I appreciate you. I hope that you are blessed. I pray that you have a great night, a great day tomorrow, a great week. And I'll see you next week for another conversation. God bless. And I love you all. I appreciate you. Have a good one.